Okay, dear friends, I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share with you in the past 30 years and the Zigen experiences supporting the rural education and the development. And first, I want to introduce about the Zigen. Zigen in Chinese means to nourish the roots. I'm representing the Zigen, which is based in the United States. And another Zigen is China Zigen, is based in China. And the Zigen started in 1988, was founded by a group of the Chinese, overseas Chinese from Taiwan and Hong Kong. And the members and they take out 1% of the income as a seed money to support the programs in China. And the most important, in 1995, and the China Zigen Rural Education and Development was formally registered as a nationwide NGO in China, and which is a very, very important legal status for the China Zigen to strike the roots in the rural area. And then 2009, then with the Hong Kong Zigen. But to remind you that the three organizations legally is entirely independent, but just share the common vision and the mission, and doing the similar work. For the 30 years, and taking the roots in the public speaking in rural China, and the vision for the Zigen is to promote human-centered sustainable development in the rural area. And the mission for the past 20 years is support the people living in impoverished area of the China in the area of the basic education, primary health care, and environmental sound technology and the cultural preservation. Especially pay attention to the women's and the girls' participation in the development and the access to the basic education. Talk about some of the achievements in these 30 years. And the first Zigen program from the Guizhou, 12 villages expand to the 9 provinces and more than 20 national level poverty-stricken counties. And 120,000 person year, and the scholarship being provided to the girls and to the children in poverty. And more than 3,000 schools and they received the different programs and the supported programs from the Zigen, and the direct benefit is over about 1 million per person year in the 30 years. So in my view, and all this largely by the volunteers. And we raised the funding from the individuals and no really big donors. So I just shortly introduce about the background, and please everybody join me and take a short trip. But this trip, it takes for 30 years. And we going together and start from the Guizhou. In 1988, when we collected 1% of the donations from the members, and they used this money to go to China to fund the programs. And coincidentally, we went to the most impoverished area in Guizhou, this minority regions. In the village, we met many girls. They were not in the school. And like this girl, she has to take care of the brothers and the sisters and doing a lot of household work. And in the first and the second grade, you see some of the girls. In the highest grade, there was no girls at all. Why there's so few girls in the school? We did extensive research and find out that during that time, there was no free education. Even they have 9 years compulsory education. I remember the tuition for a child go to school is about $7 US. But the income per person is only $20 US. They have to use this money to buy the fertilizer, to buy the essential, clothing and so forth. So they don't have the money to pay for the tuition, and instead they pay for the boys and not the girls. And after finding out, and we feel this is the most important, so we start a scholarship program to support the girls from 6 to 14 years. So long you want to come to the school, then we support their tuition. So they all come. And this is a sparrow village in Guizhou Mountains. You see, in this small village, all the girls come into the first grade. with the younger brothers and the sisters. I don't know how to use, I want the one in the middle. And she's in the 5th grade and is 14 years old. She just graduated from college 5 years ago. I said, how come? You're so old, you graduated. She said, yeah, Teacher Yang, when I came to the school, I was 14 years old, okay? But luckily, he graduated from the college. Okay? And through this experience, and the neighbor counties, neighbor villages, even the other provinces, all come to Zigen apply to supporting the scholarship for the girls. And we find out, actually, in the rural area, the extensive number of the girls cannot go to school. It is not a unique phenomenon. It's a very common phenomenon in the poor, poverty-stricken, especially in the minority regions. And so we support the girls, and start from 12 villages, expanded to the more than 100 villages. And then the girls gradually growing up, and we continue to support to the junior high, then to the high school, and some of them graduate from colleges. Okay? And then they went back to the village as the first female teacher in the village, and they become the first paramedic in the village. Okay? First female paramedic in the village. And many of them graduate from junior high. They can read and write, and also they join together, form the women's cooperative, and doing the embroidery work and to sell in the market. So not only generate the income, also preserve their local culture. So I think the most effective investment really is to invest to the girls' education. And that's the foundation for the women and the men and the women, the equality, for the access, equal access to the education. And this is the embroidered work, done by all those villagers. Okay, but in the process of the growing, the children we support, from the young adolescents to the teachers to the village, developers. But in the meantime, the Zigen has witnessed the tremendous change in China, especially in the rural area. Of course, no doubt about it, about the economic prosperity. And especially many people went to the city as migrant workers and they earned the cash money, sent back to the home, and it greatly improved their material living standards. But in the process of modernization, I think that China, the rural area, paid the most cost and the burdens. First of all, because because in the countryside, you can see that the water and also the soil is severely polluted. And the biodiversity has been drastically in the decline. And the number of the different kind of the plants and the different kind of the animals is just decreased drastically. And not only that, and the thousands of years inherited the local culture and it disappeared rapidly. Okay? And this is a major cause. And with all the young people went to the cities and left behind in the villages, older people, women, and left behind children. And that's what in a lot of rural area right now. And this is some of the photos. I don't know where's another one. This is a common phenomenon in the rural area. Okay, those are the students. Actually, I took this picture, okay, yeah. It's a very common phenomenon in the rural area. In China right now, there's no garbage collector to the village, okay. So even we support them with the garbage collector, no place to dump. I asked the teacher, where do you dump those, the garbage? They just pointed out the river right next to the school. And overusing the fertilizer, pesticides, and the waste is caused great damage, pollution to the water and to the soil. And this is one photo. Actually, this is not unique. You see, in many of the rivers in the village level, you can see that flooded with all of those plastic wastes. Okay, come back to the Zigen original vision and the mission. Actually, we would like to build a sustainable development village. There are as well known, the 4 pillars of sustainable development is economic prosperity and environmental responsibility and the cultural diversity and the social equity. So take a look at these 4 pillars. The first one, economic vitality, of course. Everybody knows China has great economic improvement, but in the meantime, the disparity is wider and wider, even in the economic disparity. And the environment and the cultural diversity, I just mentioned, okay, the environment is facing greatly degradation. And also the cultural diversity, there's no diversity, it's only consumer culture from the city. Okay. Then the social equality, you talk about education equality and the gender equality, and there's a great disparity between the rural and in the cities. So in these 4 pillars for the sustainable development, I think every pillar is facing great challenge in China right now. So talking about the sustainability of the village development, we just cross our fingers. Then what should we do? For 20 years, Zigen has supported, paid a lot of attention through the education to support the girls go to the school and improve the major infrastructure of the schools and so forth. But this China in 2007 started free education, and so the number of the girls and the dropout rate is much more reduced. And also China invested a lot of money in the school infrastructures in recent years. So I think for the education to support the scholarship, this era is past. And we are facing the new challenges. It's not a new challenge, it's that one long time being ignored. Ignored is how what? It's ignored about the school curriculum, the quality of the education. Yeah. The quality of education. And so the Zigen, we through a lot of the investigation and decided to shift our focus. We are not only to support the basic education, and also we are supporting promoting education for sustainable development. Later, I will explain what is the education for sustainable development, and we feel it is urgent, it is necessary, but it is very difficult. Okay? The Education for Sustainable Development, ESD, actually is promoted by the United Nations. And the first thing, and this is that the curriculum right now really need the new direction and the new content. So we have to incorporate the issues and in the sustainable development into the school curriculum, not just the subject area, not just to learn the skill, not just to find the personal achievement and to find the jobs. And the second, and to cultivate the students with knowledge, consciousness, and participation in the development community sustainable development. And the fourth is to cultivate students the critical thinking, especially critical about the not sustainable development practices and the values in the mainstream, in the mainstreams, and cultivate students with the social responsibility, not just the personal achievement. I think those are the 5 most important points, summarizing that the education needs a new direction, needs a new contents, and they need a new teaching methods, and they need a new orientation. And in order to do this, and the Zigen just established a China Zigen Rural Education and Sustainable Development Center. And in this center, we have 4 categories of the work. One is do the research. It's addressing to the local educational issues, such as combining schools, such as the adolescent girls, health education, and so forth. And the second, with development of the training program. It's under the framework of ESD. Okay. ESD the training program, now we already developed 4 training programs. I will explain later. And not only for the training program, we also have the pilot programs. For the teachers training, we have the support the village green eco schools. And for the rural leadership training, we support green eco villages. For the NGO training, we support the NGO small pilot programs. And we are also doing the advocacy by the research, by the pilot program, and to hold the conferences, and to advocate education need to have the new orientation and the new content. I want to specifically talk about the training programs. The first one, we cooperated with the Beijing Normal University. We spent almost 7 years to develop this training program. The learners are rural teachers, okay? It is rural teachers training program. And the second is rural sustainable development leadership training program. And the second program, the target population are the rural village heads and the party secretaries, and also the people active in the rural development. They're living in the village right now. Okay? Then with the NGO, and the rest we'll just talk about later. Okay? Talk about this rural training program, we have 6 topics. Okay? One is about the student-centered learning philosophy and the practices. Then will be the environmental education and the cultural preservation and the gender education and the school, family, and the community. Also, we integrate this content into the classroom teaching and the school activities. And right now, we already have in the 3rd year to promote this training program, and we have trained 1,500 teachers and in 40 different eco schools. Talking about the green eco schools, we plan to the 2020, we have 100 green eco schools. I will explain what is green eco schools, okay? This is the, sorry, this is bilingual, okay? Didn't have the time to translate into Chinese. So we have English and Chinese, okay? And there's 4 areas in the green eco schools. First one is basic needs, and the second is about the energy-safe equipment and facility. So I just use the photos to explain it. First, in the green eco schools, all the teachers will participate in this training program. They go to Beijing, train as the trainers, and come back to train the teachers in green eco schools. And this is different training programs. And this is the Zigen girls. They graduate from the college and they joined this training program and they went back to work in the village schools. And the second, in the 6th dimension, the first one is support the basic needs. There are still about 10% of the students that come from very poverty-stricken families. We give the student aids. And those are from different provinces, the students. Okay? And also, we support the clean water in the school. Usually the students, they have to go a long way to fetch the water in the nearby rivers. And then we support the library books, the classroom corners. Okay? And we also do the school, improve the school environment with the environmental friendly and energy-saving facilities. For example, we support the solar water heating tank. Otherwise, the students, even no matter how cold it is, they have to use cold water. They don't have any hot water. They drink icy cold water, and also they don't take the bath in the winter. Okay? And then after they have this solar tank, then they can take the warm bath and drink the warm water. And we also support the solar lights. Because the students, most of them live in the dormitory, they have to go to the bathroom, and it's dark, pitch dark. It's very dangerous. So after you have the solar lights, and they can read, and they can practice exercise and in the night. And the student will participate in the environmental protection activities and develop environmental consciousness, and through all different programs. For example, each school has a farmland. The students and the teachers working together to plant the vegetables. And those are the photos in Yunnan. And those are the photos in Guizhou. Yeah. And since most of the students live in the dormitory, so they have the fresh vegetable to eat and without any fertilizer, and it's all natural. And the students participate to plant the trees to green their school environment and for the garbage collection and the recycling practices. And then about the preservation of the local culture, we also support different programs in the school. Otherwise, the school has any local culture curriculums. And then this is the grandfather came to talk about the history of their village and family history. Okay? And this is the local artist come over to train the students with a long-last musical instrument, pipa. Okay? So those are the different programs, we call this a local culture integrate into the school curriculum. And this is the parents and the students and teachers together to dance. This is Shanxi Shilou in the Yellow Plateau. This is in Yunnan. Yeah. In Yunnan, it's Lüshuzu. It's Yunnan Lijiang. Then another one, there will be the green local eco villages. I don't have the time to go into the detail, and we plan to support the 20 green eco villages. And all the cadres will participate into the training programs, then to do the different developmental programs. And the major force is to organize the women as a women's group and to preserve the local culture and also generate the income. And including the art craft and also including the herbs, okay, yeah. So those are the programs we are doing now. And the last one I want to talk about is the difficulties. Okay? For this ESD, to promote this in China, actually it's very difficult. Okay? It is must, it's needed, and it is difficult. Why? Let's talk about unfavorable factors. Okay? First about the basic education. All the school is exam-oriented education. The teacher's evaluation is based on the students' test scores. And also the curriculum is urban-based. Very little concern about their life in the rural life. It's not relevant to the local living. And the third is consolidation of the school. And the children left the family and the village young age. I visit many schools, even in the kindergarten, come to the school, to live in the school, away from the parents, from the communities. How can you talk about sustainable development without the parents and the community and the living in the schools? This is extensively combining school policy prevailing in China right now. Elementary school, kindergarten school students living in the dormitory. Okay? And also, the left-behind children, all the schools we visit, is about 1/3 of students are the left-behind children. They stay in the dormitory, and the teachers become their parents, okay, with a great burden, a lot of psychological problems. And for the adult education, in the village level, there's no adult, any training program, very, very few, about their lives, okay? And also in the village, you don't see the magazines, newspapers. The only major information is from the TV, okay? And we know that the TV is consumer-oriented. Propaganda asks you to buy more things, okay? Like in China, all the schools we visited, the very prevailing slogan, no matter how remote the school is, okay, the slogan is like this: facing the world, facing the modernization, facing the future. No, any slogan asks those facing their own community, their own village, okay? Because, the major, in the mainstream, the value is that they look down at the village. They think the village is backwards. They think the people over there is uneducated. They think they are not smart. Only modernization and only modernization, urbanization, industrialization, and that's the goal for the government development. Okay? So we are facing tremendous challenges, but I think for the Zigen, in the next many years, to support, promote education for sustainable development will be our major goal, even no matter how hard it is. But I think it's necessary, it is urgent, and it's very much needed, and it's not only in China, and also it's globally. Okay? Thank you very much.